Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're jumping straight into a truly extraordinary narrative. Just imagine a realm completely outside of normal reality, where a mystic, a poet, and a philosopher unexpectedly cross paths. We're breaking down a fascinating text known as All Shall Be Well in the Third Circle, which sets up this brilliant, beautiful dialectic of love, suffering, and the divine. Let's get right into it. So, what exactly happens when three historical heavyweights meet on a road where the rain falls both upward and downward at the exact same time? It's a pretty striking image, right? This impossible physics sets up the third circle. That suspended rain instantly sets the stage for a high-stakes intellectual pilgrimage. It's this bizarre environment where nature itself is just caught between two massive opposing forces. You've got gravity pulling down and aspiration pulling right back up. Walking along this impossible road are our three historical protagonists, and honestly, they fundamentally disagree on where this journey's actually taking them. First up, we have Julian of Norwich, the mystic, who literally sees God in the smallest of everyday things. Then there's Plotinus, the philosopher, who firmly believes the divine is entirely transcendent and separate. And finally, Dante Alighieri, the poet. You know, the guy who famously mapped out his own descent into hell and ascent into heaven. Right off the bat, we're looking at two massively different worldviews going head-to-head. On one side, Plotinus champions transcendence. He thinks the ultimate goal is to completely escape this messy material world and ascend into perfect unity. But on the other side, Julian argues for immanence. She holds this intimate belief that God actually holds the entire physical cosmos, just like a tiny hazelnut in the palm of a hand. To her, physical matter isn't something to be discarded, it's something to be completely sanctified. Now, to really grasp where Julian is coming from here, we have to talk about panentheism. The crucial takeaway is this belief that creation is distinct from the creator, sure, but it is held entirely within the creator. Think of it much like a child inside a womb. Julian's whole argument is that matter isn't some cosmic mistake that we're supposed to throw away. It is intimately sustained by divine love at every single moment of its existence.
And that brings us to Dante, who steps in to build a bridge here. He acts as the mediator between the mystic and the philosopher. You see, Dante believes truth isn't just a straight line upward, and it definitely isn't a tiny static object. To him, truth is a story. It's a story told from hell all the way to heaven, and it absolutely requires every single painful step. It is a messy narrative journey through justice, mercy, and human suffering. Every single part of that journey matters.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 1, the Council of Unfinished Questions, where contradictions meet. So our travelers walk into this grand, impossible hall, and they're facing a council of historical seekers. Think Augustine and Virgil, led by a figure named Sophia. They're basically debating whether God is transcendent or immanent. And right in the middle of this intense council debate, Dante has this profound realization. He says, love requires two, which means love requires separation, which means separation is not the problem, but the precondition. That is a massive paradigm shift. He's pointing out that true love actually needs distinct, separate individuals. I mean, if we all just dissolved into one giant unified blob, there wouldn't be any other left to love. To really get why Dante's realization is so completely jarring to Plotinus, we need to understand kenosis. Essentially, this is the mystical union with the One, the ultimate goal of shedding all particular identity and matter. Plotinus literally built his entire philosophical framework around this idea. But during the council, Sophia drops a heartbreaking revelation on him. She points out that his grand, elaborate system for escaping the self, it was actually just built to escape his own desperate human loneliness. He wanted ultimate unity, just so he would never have to feel separated or alone ever again. From that intense realization, we move into Section 2, the Library of Unwritten Books, confronting alternate endings. Inside this incredible space, a library that actually holds every book that could have been written, our travelers are forced to confront their lifelong preconceptions. Dante stumbles upon an unwritten critique by his muse, Beatrice, and honestly, it delivers an absolute emotional gut punch. She writes, "He wrote the symbol. He forgot the girl. I wish sometimes that he had written me whole." Wow. Dante suddenly realizes he completely erased Beatrice's actual, messy, beautiful humanity just to build a perfect theological allegory for his poem. He was loving the idea of her way more than the reality of the actual girl who existed. But Dante isn't the only one finding things. Julian discovers an unwritten book that expands on her own visions, revealing her core philosophy. The lover who does not love the beloved's details is not loving the beloved, but only the idea of belovedness. Her expanded text makes this incredibly powerful argument that God's infinite nature is expressed exactly through deep, loving attention to the smallest, most particular details of our lives. Those little everyday things, they aren't distractions. They are literally the point.
And the narrative takes a really radical turn here as we enter section 3, reimagining hell and purgatory, the valley of slow becoming.
Stepping out onto this vast hillside overlooking millions of souls working through their pasts, the travelers see a vision that completely shatters Dante's rigid architecture of eternal damnation. Here, the afterlife is reimagined. It's not a place of permanent, static punishment. It's a progressive valley of slow becoming. Step 1 is hell, which is essentially just confronting your choices. Step 2 is purgatory, the slow, deep transformation. And step 3 is heaven, the perfected particularity of who you are. In this view, hell isn't forever. It is basically just a very, very slow purgatory for those who are aggressively resisting being loved.
Julian completely rejects Dante's concept of an eternal hell with this fierce counterargument. She says, I deny that hell is stronger than heaven, that human choice is more powerful than divine love. So the big takeaway here is that salvation is framed as this unstoppable divine arc. God's mercy will ultimately outlast all human refusal. When you think about it, that is a wildly hopeful perspective on redemption and healing.
Now, watching all of this transformation happen in the valley triggers a massive shift in our philosopher. Plotinus finally grasps a simple, profound truth. The one loves particulars. The divine doesn't actually demand the erasure of his identity at all. God loves him specifically, as Plotinus. He realizes he doesn't have to dissolve his entire personality to be saved. He just has to allow himself to be fully known and fully loved exactly as he is.
Which brings us to the emotional climax of our journey in section 4, the divine knitter's tapestry, weaving the dark and the bright.
The travelers wade across a river of memory, and they finally meet the presence they've been debating about this whole time. But it's not some static force or a distant, scary judge. It's a patient knitter sitting at a grand loom. Let's really break down how this loom operates because it's beautiful. The dark threads, those represent the pain, the struggle, and the suffering we all face. But the gold threads represent the divine presence woven right within that darkness. All those tangles and knots aren't mistakes that need to be cut out. They actually create rich texture. It's the combination of the rough, dark threads and the warm gold threads that actually creates a much stronger, unified masterpiece.
And this gives us the ultimate theological resolution of this explainer. God wastes nothing. Even waste is composted into richness. Every single frayed edge, every mistake, every heartbreak, and every tragedy in life is ultimately redeemed. Now, this doesn't mean the suffering wasn't real or that it wasn't terrible, but it means that it's purposefully woven into a pattern of profound meaning, a pattern we just can't quite see yet from our limited vantage point on Earth.
All of this leaves us with one pretty big question. If every dark and bright thread of your life is being woven into a larger masterpiece, what is your thread forming? It's definitely something to chew on as you go about your day. Your struggles are not mistakes, your tangles absolutely belong in the fabric, and your particular, unique details are exactly what makes the tapestry so beautiful. Thanks for walking the third circle with us today. Keep learning, keep questioning, and we'll catch you on the next explainer.